So for those of you who happen to have a little bit of crossover between Sanderson and Tabletop, there is a company out there making a tabletop role-playing game based on the Stormlight series. It's a little company called Brotherwise Games. They have previously worked on a card game for the Stormlight Archive called The Call to Adventure, and they've also did a Kickstarter for this thing called Stormlight Premium Miniatures, which I guess, is a partnership with Brandon Sanderson to create a line of premium collectibles based on the iconic heroes and villains of the Stormlight Archive. Miniatures, figurines, and a showpiece 1 to 10 scale resin statue. Groovy. You can check out the Kickstarter as well as you want, but right now I want to talk more about the tabletop component because this sounds pretty cool. So, for those of you who are fans of Sanderson's Stormlight books, this is just another way to get into the book series a little bit deeper. It's a little bit of a side thing. I kind of look at this as kind of like what George Lucas was doing with the expanded universe in a sense, because as I understand things, this game has its own standalone campaign and storyline. So let's read through what they have in terms of details. Now, again, this is an early thing, I think, from what I just kind of stumbled across it last night. So I don't think there's a ton of information out there about this yet. At least I've not found a ton of information yet. But here's what we do know based off their website over at Brotherwise Games. I'll have a link down below, by the way, if everybody can look at this. It says, um, Brotherwise Games is now working on our biggest project ever, a tabletop RPG set in the epic fantasy world of Roshar. Experience the return of the Radiance, creating your own stories of oaths, storms, and wars. Development is still shrouded in secrecy, but there are 5 things that we can tell you about this project. First, the Stormlight RPG uses an original system, but one that contains elements that most players will find similar. I think that's the safest bet in the current era that we're living in. Now, obviously, I think this game has been in development since before all the OGL drama hit. But I don't know enough about it to confirm that. But in any case, especially in light of the current era that we're living through, it's better to just develop something with its own unique system that doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, because at the end of the day, no one can ever take that away from you if you've done it all from the ground up. I'm actually going to be doing an episode soon on why I think the way they did Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 was so important, because it's an original tabletop setting which can then be used for a lot of different things. So they've already built out their own spell lists, their own rules for combat and everything else, which I think is very, very important in terms of having your own system that doesn't rely on someone else's license, and more importantly, something that they can later on down the road decide that they want to try to change on you. So it's an original system. They are working closely with Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells. So who is Dan Wells? Dun, 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 dun. American horror and science fiction author. Interesting. Okay. Both working with both of them to build this RPG, including original lore for it. Different tiers of play allow you to build any character from a scholar to a surge binder, or follow a Radiance journey over the course of a campaign. This is designed to bring in all new fans, so familiarity with the setting is not required. That's a tricky one, but it is doable if you make the game from the ground up so that it's an introductory course into things, as opposed to, because here's the trap that a lot of people get into when they're developing any sort of ancillary products around an existing IP, is sometimes there is the assumption from executive producers, showrunners, etc., that they don't need to explain certain things because it's the part of the book. The people watching this are going to know that. We don't have to explain all that. But they often forget there are a lot of first timers out there. Chris falls into this category with a lot of things that I have her watch with me, because a lot of things that I like to watch are based on the books that I've read or the video games that I've played, things of that nature. And I'm always in the background pulling things apart because I've read through or seen something, and she comes into it with no clue, which gives her a different perspective than I do. And in some cases, it has expanded into her wanting to try the other things in the franchise above and beyond just like the show or the video game or something. So, um, It's an interesting take if you can make it happen and do it in a way that actually can pull those people in and make them want to explore the other parts of the intellectual property beyond whatever it is they're experiencing for the first time. Tricky but doable. Next up, it says our all-star creative team includes designers who have worked on some of the most successful and best designed RPGs around. That's more of one of those. I mean, I hate it when companies say stuff like that because it's like, well, tell us who they are. Give us a list of their credentials. Like, let us judge, if they are, you know, people we should be excited about or not. Like, if they've worked on some of the most successful and best designed RPGs around, then sharing that information with us would just enhance our anticipation of your project because we know that they've worked on X, Y, and Z, one of which may be one of our favorite games. That kind of stuff always makes me chuckle. But anyway, they have a website set up for their company, and you can go over to this and you can enter your information here if you want more deets. They've got a Stormlight RPG announcement video down here as well, which we could take a look at. So it's like a teaser. I don't know why it's only showing half of that. Let's open it up in YouTube. So all they're showing right now is miniatures. So that's next year. Okay. Between Dragonsteel and Brotherwise Games, it was announced during a live stream with Brandon Sanderson and from September 20th, 2022.
And we're back. So one of the very first things that I said when I was, talking to Isaac and Johnny about this is fans really want a pen and paper Stormlight RPG. We have, with the wonderful people at Crafty Games, a Mistborn RPG, but we don't have a Stormlight one. And so I said, Johnny, can you guys help us make one?
Absolutely. And totally a dream project for us. In fact, our game, Call to Adventure, is a game that is all about creating a character with stats like strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And with an RPG project, we've been in discussions with some big names and also some great new voices in the RPG space. So we are assembling a killer team of TTRPG writers and editors and, of course, illustrators. The art aspect of this is huge, but this is a huge project. So this is something that's going to roll out over time. We're going to be fairly quiet about it in the near future.
Yeah.
Well, that explains a lot in terms of why we haven't heard a lot about it yet. I'm excited by what I see. I think one of the things that intrigues me the most is if Sanderson's willing to be behind it himself. He tends to produce these things because it's his IP. So I mean, they've been. I mean, he's a good writer, but he's also a smart business person, and the way that they have expanded Sanderson's empire has been pretty incredible. Tapping into that merchandising component in a way that a lot of other authors don't do, and his own Kickstarters and his own production companies and his own everything. So it's kind of like he can bypass Hollywood entirely, he can bypass everybody entirely, but then still do things like this. So I don't know exactly how the financing works, or if Sanderson's funding this himself, or if it's through investors, or if they pitched him on it and said we'll develop it on our own dime. I know nothing about that. I just know that this is taking place. I found information about it the other day, and I wanted to share it with everybody here on my YouTubers. So check it out if you are a fan of Sanderson's Stormlight series, because this is coming on the pipeline. It's not going to be a 2023 thing. It will be a 2024 thing, which means this might be something that we can all look forward to next year in terms of adding to our libraries and perhaps doing some live streaming around. You never know. Like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update here on my channel. And if you like what you saw here today and you want to support, it's really easy. You can do memberships. We have 3 different tiers. We have Super Chat, Super Sticker, Super Thanks on any of my videos or any of my shorts that you see. There's also the Patreon page for our tabletop world that you can get the source book and first module for. There's also a book series and a point-and-click adventure game, so we'll see you over there. There's a Discord. Links are down there. See you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe and happy gaming.